The glass elevator at Morgan Technologies moved slowly, but smoothly as it went up the tall, shiny building. Each floor we passed brought me closer to the moment I had been preparing for over the past 3 years. I adjusted my plain gray blazer, the one I had bought from a regular department store. It was nothing like the fancy designer suits that everyone else around here wore. This place felt more like a giant glass and steel temple than an office. As the elevator kept rising, a man wearing a sharp navy blue suit stepped inside. He barely looked at me. I gave him a small nod, and he didn't say a word. I let him think I was just another junior employee. He had no idea who I really was or why I was here. Suddenly, my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a message from Nathan, my older brother. "Where are you? Don't forget what we talked about. Stay quiet. Stay in the back. Don't draw attention." I didn't text him back. Instead, I focused on the numbers lighting up above the elevator doors: 48, 49, 50. I was almost there. The top floor of the building held the boardroom. That's where Morgan Technologies would soon announce their new senior vice president of operations. And that person was going to be Nathan, of course. He had been talking nonstop about this promotion for weeks. Growing up, Nathan was always the favorite. He made everyone laugh and always knew the right thing to say. Meanwhile, I stayed up late reading business books and trying to prove myself. But no matter how hard I worked, I always heard the same thing. "Why can't you be more like your brother?" When I got into a good business school, Nathan told everyone that I was just hiding in the world of books. He said real success came from action, not study. When I earned my MBA, he just shrugged and said it was only a piece of paper, nothing compared to his so-called real-life experience. The elevator finally reached the 48th floor. As I stepped out, I remembered something from last month's family dinner. Nathan had smiled as he cut into a steak and announced, "Ruth's still pretending to be a professor, while I'm about to become the youngest senior VP in Morgan history." Mom had smiled proudly. "We're so proud of you, sweetheart," she said. Then she looked at me and added, "Some people just aren't made for the business world." Dad nodded. "Academic life suits Ruth," he said. "It's safe. Predictable. Not everyone is built for the real pressure." They had no idea. Tonight wasn't just Nathan's big moment, it was mine too. And no one, not even Nathan, knew what I had planned. I didn't say a word that night at dinner. I just smiled and quietly ate my food. Let them think what they wanted. They had no idea what I had really been doing while I was hiding in academia. The truth was, I had been building something much bigger than any of them could imagine. Now, as I walked through the clean and modern hallways of Morgan Technologies, I could feel the weight of the documents in my briefcase. These papers represented 3 years of careful planning, smart investments, and quiet business deals. Every step I took brought me closer to the moment I had worked so hard for. Up ahead were the large glass doors to the boardroom. Through the glass, I saw Nathan standing at the front of the room, talking confidently to a group of people. He looked perfect in his expensive suit, smiling like he owned the place. Our parents sat in the front row, their faces glowing with pride, just like always. Nathan spotted me in the hallway. His smile dropped. He walked over quickly, his voice low and angry. "I told you to stay in the back," he whispered. "This is my big day. Don't ruin it by trying to network or whatever it is you're planning." "Don't worry," I said softly. "I'm not here to take your spotlight." He looked at my plain outfit with a sneer. "Good. Just try to look professional, okay? And don't tell anyone we're related." Then he turned and walked back to the front of the room. I checked my watch. Everything was going according to plan. Right on time. Lauren Bacall, the CEO of Morgan Technologies, was about to arrive. What Nathan didn't know was that I had met with Lauren many times over the past year. And none of those meetings had anything to do with his promotion. The room suddenly became quiet as Lauren walked in. She didn't need to say anything to command attention. Her presence did it for her. She walked to the podium with calm confidence and began to speak. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, "thank you for being here. Today, we are announcing some major changes at Morgan Technologies." Nathan straightened his tie and sat up taller, ready to hear his name called. "But before we talk about promotions," Lauren continued, "I want to share something important. 4 months, I've been searching for the right person to lead Morgan Technologies into the future. Someone smart, honest, and forward-thinking. She paused and looked around the room. Nathan grinned. He thought she meant him. This person impressed me with their knowledge of business and their bold ideas. They also quietly built a powerful investment portfolio, including shares in 3 of our biggest competitors. Nathan's smile started to fade. And over the last year, this person has been buying shares of Morgan Technologies through different channels. As of this morning, they now own a controlling interest in the company. The room filled with gasps and whispers. Nathan looked like he had seen a ghost. "Please welcome," Lauren said, "the new owner and CEO of Morgan Technologies." And all eyes turned to me. She turned to me and held out her hand.
"Dr. Ruth Stilling," she said.
The room went completely silent as I walked toward the podium. Nathan stepped back, looking shocked. The speech he had prepared slipped from his hands and fell to the floor. In the front row, our parents sat frozen. Their faces showed a mix of confusion, disbelief, and something close to panic. "Thank you, Lauren," I said, standing in front of the microphone. The documents in my briefcase could wait for now. First, I had something more important to do, speak to this company and finally prove that everyone who had ever underestimated me had been wrong. The boardroom was still quiet. People were stunned. Lauren Bacall moved to the side, a small smile on her face. She had kept our secret this whole time. She knew exactly why it was important for this moment to unfold in just this way. "Before we continue," I began, my voice calm and strong, "I think we should start with some congratulations." I looked over at Nathan. "Nathan," I said, "would you join me up here?" He looked like he couldn't move. His face had gone pale, and his expensive suit now looked tight and uncomfortable. In the front row, our mother gripped her purse so hard her knuckles turned white. Neither she nor our father said a word. "Nathan," I said again, this time with more firmness in my tone. "Please." He slowly made his way up to the front, each step heavy, as if it took great effort just to walk. Around the room, people began whispering as they started to realize something important. Nathan and I shared the same last name. "As many of you already know," I said to the room, "Nathan was supposed to be announced today as the new Senior Vice President of Operations." I paused. You could feel the tension in the air. "That announcement is still going to happen," I continued, "but with a few changes." Nathan looked up quickly. There was a flicker of hope in his eyes, but also confusion. He didn't know what was coming next. "Over the past year," I said, "I've reviewed everyone's performance records, including Nathan's. While his sales numbers are good, there are some serious concerns about his leadership and decision-making." I opened my briefcase and pulled out a folder. Nathan's eyes followed my hand closely, and I could see worry growing on his face. "For example, let's talk about the Harrison account from last quarter." I held up a document. "This is the project where you took credit for Joyce Meyer's work, while she was away on maternity leave." Nathan's face went completely white. In the crowd, a young woman in a gray suit sat up straighter. "And there's also the Stevens Technology merger." I turned the page, ready to reveal more. The truth was coming out, and Nathan knew it. I pulled out another folder from my briefcase. "This one," I said, "shows how you failed to tell the board about the huge pension debt that would come with the company we were planning to buy. You found the issue during the research phase, but chose to keep it secret." Nathan's face turned red. That's out of context," he said, his voice shaky. "You don't understand how business really works. In the real world, you sometimes have to make tough choices, even morally questionable ones, to get ahead." "Oh, I see," I replied. "So by tough choices, you mean stealing credit from coworkers and hiding important information from the board?" Suddenly, our father stood up. "Now hold on just a minute," he said loudly, his face flushed with anger. "You can't just walk in here and make wild accusations. Nathan has worked hard to get where he is." "Yes," I said, cutting in calmly. "I know exactly how Nathan got here, with charm, manipulation, and by taking credit for other people's work. That's how he's always done it." I looked around the room and addressed the group. Morgan Technologies is full of talented and hardworking people. They are creative, smart, and honest. They help each other, and they do their jobs with real integrity. Starting today, those are the people who will be seen, appreciated, and promoted. Then I looked toward Joyce Meyer, sitting a few rows back. Miss Meyer, I said, I'd like to meet with you tomorrow morning. We need to talk about your real contributions to the Harrison Project and also about your ideas for leading our digital transformation plan. Joyce's eyes widened, and a slow smile appeared on her face. She straightened up in her seat with pride, while Nathan stood beside me looking smaller and smaller. This is unbelievable, our mother said suddenly. Her voice was sharp and cold as she stood up. Her high heels clicked loudly on the floor as she walked forward. Ruth, you've always been jealous of your brother's success. That's what this is, some childish power play. Mrs. Stilling, Lauren said smoothly, stepping forward, perhaps we can continue this family conversation in private. The board and I have some important business matters to finish here. I nodded. Of course. My office, I said, motioning toward the large corner office that had been set up for me over the past week. Without another word, Nathan, our parents, and I walked out of the boardroom. The door closed behind us, leaving behind a room full of surprised faces and a company that, starting today, would finally move forward in the right direction. I could hear Lauren starting to tell the employees about the company's new plans as the heavy door shut behind us, making her voice fade into the background. Have you lost your mind? Nathan shouted the moment we were alone. You can't just walk in here and... I can. The regional sales manager there. Nathan's face turned pale. Milwaukee? Sales manager? You can't do this to me. Milwaukee is actually very nice this time of year, I said. Though the winters are cold, so you might want to buy a good coat. I hear department stores have some great deals. Our father slammed his hand on my desk. This is ridiculous. We won't stand for this. The board won't stand for this. The board, I said, has already approved everything. They've known about the changes for weeks. The only people who didn't know were the three of you. I stood up and adjusted my simple blazer. Nathan, you have until the end of today to clear out your office. Your flight to Milwaukee leaves tomorrow morning. First class, of course. I'm not heartless. And if I say no? Nathan asked, though his voice wasn't as strong as before. Then you'll have to explain to future employers why you were fired for breaking company rules, I said. It's your choice. I looked at my watch. Now, if you'll excuse me, I said, I have a company to run. As my parents and Nathan walked out of my office, I saw their shoulders drop. They looked defeated. I turned and caught my reflection in the window. The simple gray blazer I wore didn't look plain anymore. It looked like something else, a symbol of everything I had worked for. I had earned every step, every success, and no one had handed anything to me. But my day wasn't over yet, not even close. What my family didn't know was that owning Morgan Technologies was only the beginning. The bigger plans, the ones that would change not only our family relationships but also the whole industry, were still coming. I picked up my phone and dialed a number I knew well. It's all ready, I said when the call connected. Time for phase 2. 4 months later, I sat in my office going over quarterly reports. The weather update on my screen showed heavy snow in Milwaukee. I wondered if Nathan had finally bought that winter coat I told him to get. A soft knock on the door pulled me out of my thoughts. Come in, I said, already knowing who it was. Joyce Meyer walked in holding a tablet. She looked more confident than she had just 4 months ago. As head of digital transformation, she had already made changes that increased the company's efficiency by 28%. The audit for Stevens Technology is finished, she said as she took a seat. You were right. The pension issue was just the beginning. We found at least a dozen other problems Nathan tried to hide. I nodded. Send me the full report. And Joyce, good job. She smiled, the kind of smile someone wears when they finally feel seen and appreciated for their hard work. There's one more thing, she added. Your parents are in the lobby. I checked my calendar, even though I already knew I had no appointments. Send them up. As I waited, I opened a drawer in my desk and took out a thick manila envelope. It held documents I had been working on since Phase 2 had started. My parents walked in without knocking. My mother looked thinner, and her expensive outfit from last season looked worn. My father's tan from all those golf games had faded, and he looked older, more tired. "Ruth," my mom said, her voice overly cheerful. "We've been trying to reach you." "I've been busy," I replied. "Running a company takes a lot of time. Please have a seat." They sat down, clearly uncomfortable. The silence grew longer. "It's about Nathan," Dad finally said. "He's not doing well in Milwaukee." "I know," I said. "His sales numbers are far below the goal." "He's not used to the cold," Mom added quickly. "And the small apartment isn't like his old condo. Couldn't you move him somewhere closer? Maybe the Atlanta office?" I leaned back in my chair. "Has Nathan told you why his numbers are so low?" They looked at each other. Dad cleared his throat. "He says the clients in Milwaukee are different. Harder to please." "They're not different," I said. "They just expect real results, not fake promises and stolen ideas. Nathan can't get by on charm there, because I told the regional director to check all his work." "That's harassment," Dad said, upset. "No," I replied calmly. "That's called accountability. Something Nathan has never had to deal with before." I opened the manila envelope on my desk. "And that brings me to why I've been trying to speak with you both." Their eyes stayed on the papers I placed in front of them, property records, bank statements, and investment documents. As I reviewed Nathan's financial records, I said, "I found some surprising things. Large money transfers from your bank accounts to his, going back 6 years." Mom's hand went to her throat. Dad turned pale. "He said it was for investments," Mom whispered. "Special opportunities." "He lost all of it," I said quietly. "Risky trades, failed startups, gambling. The second mortgage on your house, the payment is due next week, isn't it?" Dad didn't speak. His shoulders dropped. "You can't pay it, can you?" I asked. We were hoping," Dad began. "That I would bail you out," I said, finishing his sentence. "Just like you've always done for Nathan. And all the while, you told me I didn't understand the real world." Tears filled Mom's eyes. "Ruth, please, we'll lose the house." I pulled out another document. "This is a proposal. Morgan Technologies will buy your house at full market value. That will pay off both mortgages. You can keep living there, paying rent, 28% below market price." Their eyes lit up with hope, but I wasn't finished. "There are conditions," I said. "First, you both must go to financial counseling. Second, you can't give Nathan any more money. And third," I looked at them firmly, "you must put in writing how you've treated me all these years." Dad looked shocked. "That's blackmail." "No," I replied. "That's accountability. And this family needs it." I stood and walked over to the window, looking out over the city. "For years, you ignored my success. You made fun of my choices. You gave Nathan everything, love, money, support, while treating me like I didn't matter." I turned back to face them. "That ends today." Mom was crying now. Dad stared down at his hands. "The choice is yours," I said. "Sign the agreement, keep your home, and maybe we can start over, build something new out of the mess this family became." I paused. "Or don't sign. Lose the house. And keep helping Nathan destroy everything you have left." I placed a pen on the desk between my parents. "But please understand," I said, "I'm not doing this to get revenge. I'm doing this because real love sometimes means helping people face the truth, even when it's hard." There was a long silence. Then, slowly, Dad reached for the pen. One by one, they both signed the agreement. At that moment, my phone buzzed with a message from Milwaukee. Nathan had finally admitted to his regional director that he needed help. He had hit rock bottom. I had already set up a plan for him, a program to help him deal with his gambling problem and teach him real business skills. I looked at my parents. For the first time, I saw something new in their eyes when they looked at me. Respect. And maybe, just maybe, a little bit of understanding. "The car will take you home," I said, pressing a button to call my driver. The The counselor will contact you tomorrow to schedule your first session. They stood up, looking different now, smaller, maybe, but also a little lighter, like a heavy burden had finally been lifted. Ruth, my mom said softly as she reached the door. Where?
I'm sorry. For everything.
I gave a small nod. I couldn't trust myself to speak just yet. After they left, I sank into my chair and let out a deep breath. Phase 2 was finished. The family that had ignored me for so long was finally starting to see me clearly, not just as a successful businesswoman, but as someone strong enough to help them face their mistakes. There was a knock on the door. Joyce walked in holding a fresh stack of reports. The board meeting is in 10 minutes, she said. They're excited to hear about the new expansion plans. I smiled and gathered my papers. It was time to look ahead, not just for Morgan Technologies, but for all the hardworking people here. People like Joyce, who deserved real chances to grow and lead. As I walked into the boardroom, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the glass wall. The plain gray blazer I once wore was gone. Now I wore one I had chosen for myself. It wasn't designer. It wasn't flashy. But it was just right, strong, simple, and honest. Just like me. The board members stood up as I entered. They had quickly learned that I was nothing like my brother and exactly the kind of leader this company needed. Ladies and gentlemen, I began. Let's talk about the future. Because real success isn't about proving other people wrong. It's about proving yourself right. And I was only getting started.